Hi, good morning, all. This is Sandeep. I'm host of ZYNC Podcast. So, ZYNC is zooming in youth networking and careers. This podcast started for by keeping the youth of this country in mind, and I try to invite the leaders from across the different industries and domains. So in today's episode, I'm speaking to Major Shubhra Agrawal. Major Shubhra is a global supply chain leader and also a former Defense Indian Army officer. She was the first Indian woman officer in the Counter-Insurgency Operations as well as the Kargil War. In this episode, she has taken out time and she vividly shares her experience about her days in the academy, in army, the different operations she has handled, how the Kargil War initiated, got started, and what were the challenges she has faced, how the supply chain is looked at and handled in the war-like scenario. Supply chain, it's VUCA world, the HR, the project management, all these terminologies, all these methodologies have evolved from the different services. This is what she has told during these sessions, and she shares her insights about it. And she has talked about a lot of other aspects about how to handle the stress, on the art of living coach, and given her advice for the youngsters of this country what they should look at, what are the different courses or the books or the other things which the youngsters should try to learn from the field of supply chain management. She has also talked about in detail about the supplier relationship management and other aspects of supply chain like logistics, last mile delivery, warehousing, procurement, and other aspects. So overall, an interesting episode from the first lady woman officer in the Indian Army who has handled the counter-insurgency operations as well as the Kargil War. She comes with a lot of experience, in-depth experience into the operation, the difficult aspects of the operations as well as supply chain management. So don't miss this episode. Do watch it and definitely subscribe to the ZYNC Podcast channel. Hi Shubhra, good evening.
Hi, Sandeep. Very good evening and a happy Sunday.
Same to you and Shubhra. So, thanks a lot to you, especially taking out time on Sunday evening. It matters a lot.
It's for you as well to giving me an opportunity. Really grateful.
Thank you, Shubhra. So, Shubhra, this is the ZYNC podcast, zooming in for youth networking and careers. The idea behind the podcast, which I spoke to you, is to speak to industry leaders like you and share your knowledge, experience from the industry with the viewers and audience which are spread, particularly the ones who are coming from the smaller towns and cities, the tier 2 and tier 3 cities and all, because that is where the youth of Bharat, the India resides, and they are coming to cities with big dreams. And one of the gaps which I see is that they don't have that kind of infrastructure or the knowledge available from when they are coming from smaller towns and cities. So this podcast series is aimed to bridge that gap to some extent. I know that this is something will not fill that entirely, but this is one small step towards that direction. So that's the aim and the thought behind the ZYNC podcast, Shubhra, and I'm quite happy to have you around for today's session. Particularly, your profile really attracted me. You are from the defense background, and I was looking for somebody who can tell the viewers about how the defense, Indian defense services look like. Supply chain and different elements of the corporate world have originated from different services, right? When we talk about HR, we talk about project management, we talk about VUCA world or the war rooms. So there's so many things, right? So this is where the defense services have taught a lot to the corporate leaders all around, and you have a great experience there. So this is where I will be spending next 60 or 90 odd minutes with you.
So, thank you so much, Sandeep, to give me this opportunity. And really, it's like commendable to take out time amongst your busy schedule and at this leadership position and think of, especially those young people who are going to come and join the workforce, totally aligning with our PM's thought process of Viksit Bharat, right?
Yeah.
How we drive force together with us. So a clear, I'll say, a role of a mentor that you are playing through your podcast. So kudos to you and really thanks to you for coming up with such a innovative ideas where you can reach and touch those last mile people
Yeah.
who are sitting and can benefit a lot. So thank you so much for this initiative and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Shubhra. Thank you. So start with understanding your background, your career, Shubhra. Why don't you just take us through your career? How you went into the defense services, the Indian Army? What was your inspiration behind that?
Yeah, so I come back from a very old era, I would say 26 years now when I joined the armed forces. So when I was a kid, I always used to get fascinated with the olive greens and the brass on the shoulders and that crisp salute which was given to officers. I said, oh wow, I used to tell my dad, I said, can I also join the forces? And he said, unfortunately, women are not allowed in the forces. So I said, okay, no worries. So, like all parents have got the dreams, right? Earlier, still now we
Yeah.
have, right? As parents, my dad always used to think, oh, okay, so my this daughter will become a IAS officer. I said, okay. And I was like, studies? Okay. No, not my cup of tea. Those huge pile of books. I can't study. Then any which ways, I pursued with my studies. I did my master's and, so way back in when I was doing my master's, after I finished my master's, and that time ergonomics was a very new field which has come and it
Hmm.
was only in IIT Powai, which was being offered. So I was chosen as the student for specializing in ergonomics from my cohort.
Okay.
Luckily, yeah, so my guide was really good enough to give me a project of one of his projects for my master's dissertation, which was on workspace and work environment design of a diamond processing industry, one of its kinds of studies which was done in the world that time. And he sent my dissertation to Oxford. They chose it, and I was preparing for my further studies from Oxford in ergonomics. And when my dad said,
Okay.
oh, you had to give UPSC, I said, oh really? Okay, I will give, but I haven't studied and I'll not study. He said, she's one rebellious kind and she will definitely not study. And I did go for the prelims because I love my dad so much and I can't say no to him. And I failed drastically for the first time in my life. And I came and I laughed at home and I said, Dad, I went just because I can't say no. But let me tell you, for the first time in my life, I have failed and I'm laughing on it. So he says, okay, no worries, you at least gave it. I said, yeah, how was the experience? Very good. Okay. Then I was busy preparing for going to Oxford, and that is when my dad again comes up, and this time my brother also supports him. Hey, you always used to, wear the olives and have the stars on your shoulders. Why don't you try it now? I said, oh
Mhm.
yeah, that was my childhood dream and passion. Then I wrote my exam, competed with SSB. I didn't really know. I was very focused on going to Oxford, doing my studies in the field of ergonomics, which was very, very new that time. And all it happened was I just cleared my whole set of interview processes,
Yeah.
and one very fine day, I forgot about it. After giving the SSB interview, I forgot. And
Okay.
my dad calls me up and he says, hey, you know what? You've got the offer letter to join the Indian Army training at Officers Training Academy. I said, oh, really? I didn't know for a sec. What do I do? Do I choose going and pursuing my passion, or or this opportunity which I have to go and pursue further studies in Oxford? So then, any which ways, I chose my passion towards my studies,
Yep.
and like a true Fauji, went and knocked the corners of Officers Training Academy as a
Mhm.
cadet, and that is where my journey started.
The best way to start the career is to choose a passion. I
Yes,
believe the next upcoming decades or 1.5 decade which you spent there would have been really given you a lifetime of experience, Shubhra.
true.
Yeah,
So
great.
nothing than doing our passion, because all the while we all do something which we are not actually passionate about. So I
Yeah.
feel we're very fortunate to do something which I was really wanting to do since childhood.
Shubhra, when you entered in the academy and you went for the training and then you became the officer, so I'm quite interested, quite eager to know your journey. Next 14 or 15 years you have spent there. Uh,
The first women officer to be
oh,
put into the counter-insurgency operations. We were one of the few batches, the first few batches which had joined the Indian Army. Yeah, so it's been very thrilling adventure.
yeah, I can understand. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, when I look back at my academy days now, it is like we laugh and we say, oh God, we went through such a rigorous training. We never knew what is there in the
Mm,
bucket for us when we went to academy. So
mm,
the very first welcome that we got in academy, very nice welcome when we landed in Bangalore, in Chennai railway station. There was people to receive us very nicely. They offered us chai, pani and everything. Made us sit in the army bus, and once we reach the gate of OTA, the bus stops. And we all girls are thinking, what happened? Why are they not taking the bus inside? And they said, now you are cadets and you please get down. We were deboarded at the gate. And they
okay.
said, now with all your luggage, you can march inside. And we were looking at those big trunks, heavy trunks, and the bedrolls. How do we carry it all? But anyway, ways, that was our first welcome to academy and to army, and all our delicate darlings and the
Yeah,
daughters
princess.
just
Yeah,
just was brushed off at the first instance of entering officers training academy.
yeah.
So it was good. It was interesting. We went, then a nice, a moral lecture from our DS. He was like, now you guys are no more girls. So we don't want you to cry. The training is going to be very intense. We want you to be strong. We don't want you to cry and don't behave like girls. You
Okay.
are going to be Indian Army officers. So that was the
Yeah.
first line by which we were welcomed, and said, now don't start crying if you hear some harsh words from us. So that is where how you would be addressed here. Said, okay, fine, whatever it is.
Okay.
So our expectation setting at the onset was done absolutely prim and proper. And we don't remember how did the days of training just passed by. Sometimes each of us were suffering through some challenges, but it was the cohort, the team
Mm,
together, which pulled us apart. So would it be those race packs where we were supposed to carry 25 kgs with a rifle, so all in all about 32 kgs of weight, and run for 25 kilometers to
pipe, huh? Okay.
25
Okay.
kilometers to anything else, right? So we did it all because every time it was drilled into us, you are very strong, you are not girls, and you are going to be the future army officers, going to lead men in situations and scenarios. So that was really interesting. Nice stories that I still remember during our academy days, and we all laugh about it. And then the training completes, and we all the waiting for the day, the passing out parade, which was
Okay.
there when we would see our parents after those long times when we left home as their daughters. All the parents, they came and they
Mm,
all had tears in their eyes
mm,
seeing their children. God, we didn't send our children like this to the academy. We can't even recognize our children. There was no difference between a male cadet and a
mm,
woman cadet, a lady
okay.
cadet. So all of us looked the same because we all
Same
crew
officer,
cut
yeah.
hair, yeah, crew cut hair, absolutely like bones chucking out, and the flesh not there, some
Mm,
blood oohing out from your elbows or whatever, whatever. So that is where, but it was one of the finest moments that I remember being pipped as a lieutenant in the Indian Army. And this is commissioned by no one else. This rank has been given to us by the President of India. It was a real proud moment.
yep.
So, yeah, that is where the journey began. And we all, after completion of a training, we were posted to our units, went to our units, and that is where the real life starts again. So, that was the phase 2 of the army career. Yes, we had become very mentally robust. Nothing was going to deter us or break us. There was nothing like, "Oh, is it?" Nothing that we could think that we can't do it, or the thought of being a girl had typically vanished. We just knew we are officers of the Indian Army. That's it.
Oh,
And we were just very, very clear about, you are Lieutenant Shubhra. That's it. That is what was my identity. And for each of us. And that is where we went. And when I reached my unit, I got to know that the unit is getting inducted into Operation Vijay and going to the high intensity counter-insurgency operations in Jammu and Kashmir. So I was so very thrilled. I said, wow, this is the serious adventure which I was looking for. And yeah, so that is where I landed up in Rajouri Poonch sector and hardcore militancy area. But I mean, if I think now, I feel that, yeah, it was one of those areas during those times over there also, in those
yeah,
periods of uncertainties and challenges where we don't know what life is going to hold us for that, for the next moment. We were all excited. We all used to enjoy whatever is in the way. Actually,
yeah.
if I look back and see, Sandeep,
Mm.
Forge actually taught us to be in the present moment,
Oh, yeah.
because we never knew what was past, we never knew what was future. We
Mm,
just had to do something which was at that moment. And if we took our minds back to past and future, then we would have not done what was required that
true,
time. And
true.
that too, as an officer,
Yeah.
where the stakes are very high. It is not that I'm talking about some $1 million or $1 billion. It
Correct.
is about something which is irrevocable. That is
Yeah.
the life of a person.
Life of a person. Yeah.
And
True.
as an officer, you are commanding nothing else than life of a person. And a person who has got a family behind, waiting for that person to come back home
Yeah.
and spend time with them. So that was the kind of responsibility, the ownership that we all landed up into. So it was very thrilling for me. I was the only women officer in that sector. And all that I could see was, I could see four colors. I could see green,
Mm-hmm.
the color of the trees, the stem, which was brown color,
Mm-hmm.
obviously the sand, which
Yeah.
was again brown in color, the clouds, which were blue, and the water, which was,
Right.
these were the colors which we actually used to see. And I used to wonder, I said, oh God, life is just about these four colors and nothing else. I never knew what movies were going on
Mm,
during those times, because those times we never had mobiles, we never had internet. I mean, I was very lucky if I could talk home and hear my parents' voice and say, hello, mama, how are you? Hello, daddy, how are you? So those
that's
were all dreams for us. And
so it was the late 90s, Shubha. What period was it?
it was in 1998.
1998.
So 1998, everything started for the
Yeah.
Kargil, right?
Yeah.
And it was during those time that
Mm,
things happened, and 1999 was when the operation actually
mm,
happened. So those were the grilling times when we had, and I was very happy. I was very adventurous in nature
mm.
from childhood. So I remember I was posted in a place called Kandi, which was
Okay.
about on about a 7,500 square feet,
Mm-hmm.
cladded with snow. And I was given as an officer commanding of my composite platoon there with one of
Mm-hmm.
the brigades. And I was very happy. 1 month of service, such a responsibility. And I would go with my infantry units on certain search and destroy missions, on the ambushes that they would go for. And it was really thrilling. I really loved it. I, s- uh, so So very nice, interesting memories that I have for those operations that I participated. And I still remember when my commanding officer got to know that I'm doing all these things. He called
Okay.
me and he said, listen, I haven't sent you to do all these things. You please do exactly what you've been told to do. This is not your duty to go
Yeah.
on these cohort operations. Heard him. I could not say no because in army you can't say no. It's
Yep.
always yes, sir. I said, yes, sir. But back of the mind, I knew that I will do what I want. So I still continue doing the way the thrills that I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to. So it was really engaging. It was very nice. It brought me, very close to the hardcore of reality of life, which we all dread to think about. That what is going to be the next moment, and how do you embrace that life which is there. Yeah, so during those times, because I am from Army Service Corps,
Mm.
so my prime responsibility was taking care and ensuring that my troops who are sitting on the forest post get the
Mm-hmm.
best of the logistic support. They get
Yep.
the best of the foods. They get best of they get the clothings, they get the armaments, everything in time before they need
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So to ensure that there is no breakage in supplies, that was my responsibility. So yeah, I learned a lot about how, and in army, one thing I learned, Sandeep, that your plan in never works.
Okay.
So, how much ever you have planned and
Mm.
strategized,
Mm.
things will happen like this, but it will never happen like that.
Yep.
So, it will be the last moment when you will see that, oh, there is a failure. And what do? You don't have time to think. You don't have resources at hand because obviously you're not in metros where you can send someone, oh, go to the market and get fresh vegetables, fruits. Their people are struggling to get their own stuff. Where will they give
Yeah.
it for so many thousands of troops? So you have to plan about contingencies. And it was all about contingencies and crisis management that I got a hands on experience during my stint in the Kargil operations. So that was it. And everyone I remember used to be like, oh, because I was the only and the first woman officer there, right? The
Yeah.
only woman officer. So these guys will also be seeing, they will be watching me very closely. Oh, let's see what,
Okay.
because I know that I'm an officer, but for
Yeah.
them, I am a woman. They
Sure.
pursue me as a lady. And
Mm.
especially the maximum population is our troops who come from the
Yeah.
remote
Remote.
villages.
Yeah.
Those times taking orders from women,
Yeah.
absolutely no for them. They would not
Correct.
do it. So you have to prove them hundreds and thousands of times that listen, I am your officer.
Yep.
I am not a woman.
Mm.
Here you are seeing an officer. And whatever I'm telling you, you will have to do it. You have to be very smart and strategic in even giving the orders so that people listen to what you're saying. And the
True.
best way I found out of doing it was proving to them that you are better than what they are. So I learned everything. I wore my dangri. I still remember I told one of my officers who was doing the quartermaster who would issue these clothings to us. So I said, sir, can I be issued with a dangri, please?
Yeah.
Dangri is a overall. He says, what? You want to wear dangri? You know, it's not very, good for you to wear a dangri. I said, no, sir, but if I have to go underneath the vehicle, learn about the vehicle, I need to be in my
Oh.
dangri. So he gave me the dangri. And when I used to come out of the vehicle, I used to be all with, the greases all over my face, totally camouflaged. But yeah, that all helped me because I
Mm.
learned my job. And these people were so nice. My troops were so good. They would teach me. I would ask them one thing and they will
Mm.
tell me 10 things.
Okay.
And they taught me. And that training, I still remember that time I had to shed the ego of that I am an officer. I was
Mm.
a learner because they were my gurus. They were going to teach me and help me do my job and tell them what to do. So
Mm.
I learned from them and then I told them what is supposed to be done. And that is where I could see those difference in those first 6 months when they started perceiving me as an officer.
And that is where probably the saying that get your hands dirty came from, I believe.
Yes, yes, you have to dirty your hands
Yeah,
before doing anything else. So
yeah,
that's very, very important that I learned that you have to be a learner. You
yeah.
have to shed all your titles, and you don't have to be scared of or shy of
Mm,
asking questions or even thinking, who am I going to ask this question for? No, whoever
okay.
you're learning is your guru. That's it. And that is the
Yeah.
mantra that I took. And this was told to me by one of our family friends, again, an officer. So, uncle told me that, beta, you are an officer, but you have to learn from your men. So, at that time, drop your officerhood and learn from them. And that will take you lifelong. And that really took
Mm,
me lifelong.
true.
Still now, I
Important,
keep
very important
learning.
lessons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep learning from anyone and everyone. I don't feel shy about
Mm,
asking a question. What will other person think? That she doesn't
yeah.
know? That's your problem, not my problem. I don't know means I don't
Yeah.
know. That's it. I need an answer. Please tell me. So then, yeah, over a period of time, Kargil happened. And one very fine day, I had put in about 2 years of service by then. So I was
Okay.
promoted to a captain because I was in field
Oh,
that
okay.
time.
Mm,
So I was
mm, mm,
Captain Shubhra. I still remember I night 10:30, the first contract that I was negotiating by myself.
mm,
That was happening. And night, huge pile of my documents, my files on my
mm,
table because
mhm,
whole day I spent on contracts and negotiating the contract. So I said, okay, I will clear my documents. And we in Ford we call it dark. So I said,
okay.
I'll clear my dark night 10:30,
Mm,
and by the time you get me this important signal is like a telegram
mm,
which is supposed to be
okay.
sent to higher headquarters.
Mhm,
So I said, you get me the signal, I will sign and we will go. And that is when we were surprised that there was Diwali all over. We could not
yeah.
understand where were
Oh.
the fireworks
Mm,
coming from. And I suddenly got up when I heard something happening. I got up, I came onto my door, trying to see where is the fire coming from because we were under
mm,
fire. So, and it was very heavy shelling going on. And that very moment, Sandeep, there is a phone call which comes. I just walked
mhm,
from my door to pick up the phone. And that is the moment my friend on the opposite side had shot the bullet,
oh,
had
okay.
triggered it. I wasn't aware about it. I
Mm,
just went to receive the call. And while talking, I just remember that there was something which just went through my right knee and went and hit
mhm.
the wall. And then I realized it was a bullet.
Oh,
It was a
oh.
bullet. And I said, oh, okay. And there was heavy shelling going on my office, on my clerk's office. And I'm shouting from there, guys, don't come near my office. Don't come near my office. And my office was fully lit. And I had to, the first thing that I had to do was break off all the tube lights that
Mm,
going in my office and make my office dark. And I don't know, whatever I took a hide for myself, and whatever I could get hold of in my office, I just took and started throwing randomly to break off the tubes. And then because it was night, all the weapons were deposited. I had to take
mm,
out the weapons, give the orders, take out the weapons, give it to people so that people can get deployed because most of the
yeah.
peoples who are in the lines, they are not having the weapons. And
Mhm,
that is just one incident which I still remember. And I still try to remember who called me that day. I don't remember who called me. What did I speak? But that
mhm,
one phone
mm,
call saved my life. I remember one of my friends before I joined army was posted in Nagaland,
mm,
and he told me once, you know what? Today I got saved. That bullet didn't have my name. So I was laughing. I said, oh, you're trying to borrow some fast one on me? Don't do that. And I called him back and I said, you know what? That bullet didn't have my name either, too. And that is when I realized the difference between life and death. That we are so blessed
True.
with so many things that we have, and the responsibility that we each of us have for doing
Yeah.
things and taking care of people. So those are the things. And then apart from that, yes, when we were into a war scenario, there were casualties, right?
Yeah.
So I was one of the most popular adjutants where people from everywhere would be
Okay.
calling me up for asking my support for transportation of these last mortal remains. I don't know how many mortal remains I would have coordinated for transportation,
Oh,
but those were a moment of pride. But at one end and at the far end, it was like,
yeah.
oh, okay, someone home waiting will see what.
No reach. Yeah.
So that is how it is. So those are my remembrances of the Kargil days, but very nice. I mean, it's very interesting
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, Shubhra, you just give a very vivid description of the war scenario, and I believe whosoever hears it out, and we are just as a country fresh out from the Operation Sindoor, which really got us into the high escalation with our neighboring country, and that is definitely on the top of the mind of everyone in India as a citizen, right? So now you were in the service corps, so you were in charge of the logistics. We have seen so many movies, we have read so many articles about the people, about the officers, about the Jawans who were leading, defending our country. And now you are here telling about from the supply chain perspective, the logistics perspective, how these Jawans or the officer who were really holding the last post for us were being fed regularly. So, any further details you can share with us, Shubha, how that entire last mile delivery happens? Because see, in civilian life, we know that the e-commerce or the quick commerce of this world, we never know what exactly how the last mile delivery actually happens in the wartime scenario.
Sure, Sandeep. As you know, logistic has been sprung from armed forces, right? So that is
Yeah,
where
yeah.
logistic was born. So in army or in, I'll say in military, right? In forces, we have a very structured approach for everything. Everything is
Mm-hmm.
process driven. So we have standard operating procedures that we
Mm.
call as SOP for
Oh,
everything. During those days, yes, now we have drones which does last mile delivery, right? So even with our
okay.
Amazon and all, we have robots which are coming
Mm.
and doing last mile delivery. Those days we had mules, for those far
Okay.
flung posts. The last mile delivery at the far flung post was done by a mule. So we would put
Yeah.
so that was the last mile. Now, so it is a tiered system.
Mm.
It's a very structured system. So at the headquarter level, the entire supply chain is procured. So if I take an
Okay.
example of food, for example, right, or clothing. So at the
Yeah.
ministry level, the entire thing is procured. The procurement is done at that level.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have mother depots for each of the zones. So
Yep.
for the northern zone, northern command that we call, like we have different commands for the different
Yeah.
zones, right? So we will have mother depots at for each location where
Yep.
all these procured items would be stored, right? The inventory is managed over there. Now, from those mother depots, this will further go to the progressing units. Or if we talk in the field like scenarios, they will be going to
Mm.
the breakup areas. So, the feeding depot will
Okay.
then send it to the other depot where there would be a chain of
Mm-hmm.
supplies which will be managed.
Mm.
So, our army transports, and to complement the army transport, we do civil hire transport as well. So, they would be either
Mm-hmm.
shipped by transported by road or by railways those days. So, it was the rail
Okay.
and the
Okay.
roadways, which was transported. So we would have something, those
Okay.
days we used to have railhead supply depots, which was the last mile for
Mhm.
the railway
Okay.
transportation. So from
Railway track.
there,
Okay.
yeah, from there for
Mhm.
further ahead areas, it would be by road. So the first
Mm.
mile is rail,
Good.
then
Yeah.
it is road, and then it is mules. So that is how we ensured an army that our delivery was done to the last post, which would be at any height, any far flung places. Now, if we talk about Siachen glaciers, right, we have to send supplies there also because
Yeah.
we have troops there also.
Yes.
There, troops cannot go, so we used to airlift. So we
Okay.
had the third mode of transport, that was air. So air, land, and rail. So road and rail. These were the three modes that we used to do our supply chain transportation on.
So, Shubhra, on leadership, you just gave an example how the things are and how we cannot take a no when the command is coming. So, any inspirational leader from your duration or tenure in different services you can talk about?
Many.
Yeah.
Difficult to name one leader, but
Mm.
many leaders, my commanders,
Mm.
and they were real tigers. And we
Yeah.
all used to call them tigers as well. And one leadership lesson which I have taken from all my leaders is that as a leader, you have to be very, very, very approachable and down to earth. But at
Mm.
that same time,
Important.
very firm. That yes, this has to be done, this has to be done, but you cannot be autocratic. So that is one takeaway which I had taken from my leaders, and I learned one very important thing, from my leaders,
Mhm.
that they depicted that leadership is not about command, and they lived
Mm.
it. It is about the people under your command caring about the people under your command. And that is exactly what they used to do. And this is something which I learned and I have taken it back in my corporate career as well. That it is more important about the command of people, the care of people that you command than the command itself.
So very true in the corporate sector as well, Shubhra. So now, after the defense services, you have made the move to the corporate, right? So how the transition happened? So very disciplined organization and moving to a corporate world. Not that it is not disciplined, but it is altogether a different culture. So how that transition happened, and what were the discoveries you made in the corporate sector?
Yeah, so I would say it was a transformation for me. It wasn't a transition, it was more of a transformation because those days, now, yes, even the forces are more technologically driven.
Yeah.
Those days, we used to be in those Stone Age eras. Technology was nothing.
Yeah.
I remember when I joined forces, Sandeep, just to share,
Mm-hmm.
our salaries, right? As officers, we
Mm-hmm.
would get it in a bank. But as
Mm-hmm.
officers, we would go in a convoy to get money. Money. We'll count those rupees and get it and
Correct.
distribute it
Mm.
to our troops.
Okay.
Yes, distribute it to our troops. So lakhs and lakhs of rupees
Mm.
in a day we would count and give it to our troops. Those were the eras that we
Mm.
have worked in, and now it is all technology
It
driven.
is digital, yeah.
When I came out of army and joined the corporate, I landed firstly into a consulting role. I was very fascinated because what I got to understand was that I would be traveling around the globe or giving consulting services
Okay.
in procurement. I said,
Mm-hmm.
wow, very interesting, glamorous. But then I suddenly realized that my work is going to be engulfed into a laptop. For me, it was a fun activity because if I get time, in army, you cannot be on these social medias, right?
Yes,
You
yes, yeah.
cannot. So it is a strict no for us. So sometimes if I can watch something, some movie
Mm.
or
Mm.
something like that, some kabhi chori chori se on an anonymous name
Hmm.
or something like that. So that is what my interaction with laptop was. Suddenly, my files then I
Hmm.
changed over to the digital files, and what I was exposed to was Excel sheets, which
Hmm.
would have number of rows and columns. God, I can't even count the number of rows and columns with all the data in it, and
Yeah.
you are supposed to understand the data and analyze, interpret, and present that data. So I said that means it has to be Excel. And I still remember it gave me a fever. Excel fever. So the
Yeah.
first thing when I joined the day one, I said, I have enrolled myself into a Microsoft Excel classes.
Okay.
I will come a bit late. Please
Hmm.
permit me because that is, I have already enrolled and I learned Excel. I learned all about Microsoft Office, how
Hmm.
to make a PowerPoint
Hmm.
presentation,
Yeah.
how to work on an Excel sheet, one small little thing which will take 5 minutes for a normal person would take 4 hours for me. So I don't remember for initial 1 year at least
Hmm.
that I slept any time before 4 or 5 in the morning
That
because
long.
one small little thing will take 4 hours for me to do. And I will have to figure out myself because I have to figure out. So my learning started from that was the biggest transformation where you are just, as an officer, I was just telling people, delegating work, giving responsibilities, and ensuring that the things are done and thinking ahead. But now I was a one man army who has to do everything by myself
Hmm.
on this electronic device called laptop. So, making friends with laptop
Hmm.
was my first step in the corporate journey. And learning Excel, making my best friend as Excel was my second step in the corporate journey. And yeah, so, and there was not much of a difference.
Hmm.
Like I had wonderful people, my colleagues in armed forces to teach me,
Hmm.
in corporate also. I had my wonderful colleagues to teach me. Any silliest of doubts that I had, they would very patiently tell me that yes, Shubhra, this is to be done like this.
Okay.
So then the second challenge that I had to overcome was my very disciplined and the routine life.
Hmm.
In army, if your senior comes, by default you just stand up, and that too in
Yeah.
Savdhan. I used to do that in college
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
well. Consciously, your mouth will say sir because that is how you're
Yeah.
tuned,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're very comfortable saying sir. So I would say sir. And they said, no, you are in corporate now. You're no more in
Yeah.
army. So please call us by first name.
First name.
It
Yeah.
was a big struggle. It was a big struggle
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me to comprehend that I'm going to call my seniors by first name.
Hmm.
So that was a cultural shock
Yeah.
where I don't have to. This will sound very funny, but it was quite a bit of a thing for me because I never had to use my brain, right? Every day morning for PT, I have my PT dress, right?
Hmm.
For office, I have my uniform. So for each
Yeah.
evening, I have my uniform. You don't have to use your brains.
Yeah.
You just pick up your uniform, wear and go. But over here, there is no uniform. So
Yeah.
I had to tune myself that yes, now I have to dress up in a corporate attire, which is not a uniform. So
Yeah.
that also took my time, you know. How do I dress? Is this the right way to dress? I am not overdressed for
Yeah.
any particular meeting or for my office. So that was the second thing which was there. And yes, the culture, the yes sir thing was gone because I had to relearn that. So
Yeah.
a lot of
Hmm.
emptying my cup happened where I unlearned most of the things that I learned in army,
Hmm. Hmm.
keeping it on the
Hmm.
backstage and learned fresh perspectives from the corporate, which will help
Hmm.
me understand and gel with the environment in a way that I can work and progress. So
Hmm.
those were my
So,
transformational changes
hmm.
initially.
So one point just came to my mind, Shura, when you said the yes sir culture, which is of course as a positive one from the defense services army point of view, but may not be taken as a positive one in a corporate world. So when do you had an argument or means you had a difference of opinion in army, so how does that happen? You are still saying yes to everything there, or you had the freedom to express your difference of opinion there?
Oh, yes, there was absolute freedom of expression,
Mm-hmm.
and the seniors are very, very open to understand your perspective. But it starts with yes, sir. Yes, sir. But, sir, is it then you very strategically put your point that you
Mm,
feel that this
mm,
is how it, there's another perspective for it.
mm,
And
yeah,
people do listen. So it is
mm,
not that if it is yes, there are
mm,
certain things which is only yes, where
mm,
you cannot open your mouth and you have to take it so you know it. But there are certain things where there are difference of opinions, you have
mm,
your own perspective,
yeah,
you're open to, strategically
yeah.
put your point.
Okay. Okay. Now, coming with that kind of background, you must have gone into such situation in your first job there, where you need to have a difference of opinion in the corporate world as well. So, how does that happen? Any example you would like to share with us?
Yeah, so I think army prepared me for everything. So army prepares you for the
Hmm.
worst, right?
Yeah.
And it arms you with a
Hmm.
lot of weapons
Hmm.
which you can use, right? Which is are the qualities that get ingrained in army, right?
Okay.
So the most important thing is adaptability and
Hmm.
resilience
Okay.
that we
Yeah.
learn as part of being in the armed forces,
And
right? So that really helped me, and definitely the strategic way of planning and decision making. So that was another value that I learned in army, which really helped me come out of those situations
hmm.
where, because yeah, in consulting, right, there is nothing which is right.
Hmm.
Everyone will have their own perspective,
Yeah.
right? So you are right from your angle, the other person is right from their angle. So
Hmm.
that means that the other person is right and I am wrong, or whatever. I would not say wrong, but yeah,
Hmm.
the other person is right and you're also right. So,
Hmm.
how do you strategically put it? So, the very strategic framework of the thought and the structured thought process that Army taught me, that came to me as my savior. And that adaptability
Hmm.
and resilience which Army inbred
Yeah.
in me, that also came to my savior. So I still remember the very first deal that I was working on, right? So I worked on the entire presentation,
Hmm.
entire solution for Australian financial companies.
Okay.
And then night when we were reviewing with my boss, and he says, but I think this doesn't work. 10 days of grilling work, and this doesn't work. So I was not surprised because in army,
Hmm.
planning never
Yeah.
worked.
Paid for that way.
So let me scribble. He just stood up and
Hmm.
on a whiteboard just started writing his thought process.
Hmm.
And we said, okay, we just captured it overnight, transformed the presentation, and were ready the next day morning for the client workshop.
Wonderful.
So that is where, I realized that what army has imbibed in me that
Hmm.
keeps me up strong and going
Hmm.
without getting restless and feeling like
Much.
what is this, maintaining your calm,
Hmm.
maintaining your poise, taking it
Hmm.
very positively,
Hmm.
listening to the other's point of view, and then acting on it.
Without getting too much emotional
Exactly.
carried out with that.
Exactly. One most important thing which Army taught us, Sandeep,
Hmm.
was emotional attachments.
Hmm.
Absolute. We have a lot of empathy.
Yeah.
We have a lot of compassion,
Hmm.
but emotional attachment, it is a little emotionally detached, attached but detached.
Yeah.
It's at the same time. So
Yeah.
nothing is very emotionally driven decisions.
So this is very important concept, and this is what we also get to face in the corporate world: how to be attached and detached in the different scenarios. Because
True.
otherwise, we face a lot of scenarios with our teams, with our stakeholders, who are not able to detach themselves, and that leads to a lot of stress, I believe.
Yeah, true.
Great. So, Shubhra, after your consultancy assignment, you went on to also manage a lot of suppliers, business partners in later part of your career. So, how that really works now, the relationship management specifically with the business partners or the stakeholders in the organization?
Yeah. So, army to consulting to the other side of the table now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, I'll go back to, the strong foundation which forces imbibed in me.
Mm,
So, would it be my stakeholder management?
mm,
Because again, there was versatile stakeholder management that we were
mm,
doing in army. I was
mm,
supposed to do as an officer in army, right from a Jawan to a general, and might be across in the government or
mm,
PSUs or, the external stakeholders. Managing various global suppliers, the first and the most important thing which I feel works is the factor of trust.
so
Like,
true. Yeah.
we need to have trust in each other. If I have trust in my supplier, and it is no supplier, it is a partner. Because if we think
Partner.
as a
Yeah.
supplier, it is a very transactional relationship.
Um,
Okay. I am
correct.
supposed to buy something. You are supposed to sell me something for which I'm going to pay you X amount of
Pay
money.
you something.
That's
Yeah.
it. That
Yeah.
is the relationship. It's very transactional. So when we
Yeah.
talk about relationship, it is beyond transaction. It is very
Mm,
strategic. And when it is strategic,
yeah.
it is more of a partnership where
Mm,
you have trust. When I have
yeah.
trust, I will share my business objectives with my partner, right? I'll share my business objectives with my partner and then collaborate with my partner
Mm,
towards the supplier to help me achieve my business objectives. Because this is not my own run, right? This is a run where I have to work very collaboratively with my supplier. So that is one thing which works wonder here. Me
mhm.
when I
Agree.
am managing the suppliers globally. That comes to a rescue because there's so many things which are there which I would not be in purview. Not even
Mm,
my
mm,
stakeholders would be of purview, which
mhm, mm.
supplier would be, right?
Okay.
And that can come as a real game changer. And real innovation will happen only when you have that relationship,
Mm,
which is based on trust and where you can actually share that this is what is my objective and what is it that we can do to work on it.
mm. So true. So, Shubhra, any inputs somebody wants from the smaller towns and cities wants to partner with the organization nowadays, or maybe become part of the supply chain? So, any tips, any suggestion, any insights for the youngsters?
So, for youngsters to be a part of the supplier cohort,
Yeah.
okay. So, actually, now COVID has taught us a lot. So,
Yeah.
there is no divide with respect to where do I belong to or where do I come to. The most important thing which I feel is very important, which is required,
Mm,
is that I have to be open. I have to showcase my strengths and what is the value add that I can offer you vis-a-vis the other person. And especially in today's scenario when we are running through tariff wars, right? We are really running through challenging times. We don't know what will happen when.
mm,
Geopolitical crisis is on the other side, which is
yeah.
burning out. So lots and lots of emphasis is on local sourcing, right?
Yeah.
That is where the true strength of these local or tier 2, tier 3
Tier three.
suppliers comes
True.
into play because they are very close to the ground reality. The big ones are not so close to the ground reality because they
Correct.
are on that global level. Being from the local areas, they know the law of the land. They know what are the turnarounds that can happen. And that is a big differentiator for them.
Mm.
So that should be their strength.
So there are a couple of points, Shubhra. For example, in India, we have the small and medium enterprise, rather micro, small and medium
Yes.
enterprises, which are actually the biggest employer in India in that particular sector. And that is where I believe this youth, this category youth from the smaller town and villages can become part of and give the further employment to many of their neighbors, their circle, their friends there, I believe, right?
Exactly. That is so true. And now with the latest government policy across
Yeah.
the GCCs, right? Government is really planning to take GCCs to the tier 2, tier 3
Tier two,
cities, where now these tier 2 and tier 3 cities will also be having these global companies. Their access becomes quite good. Yeah, quite easy. And if they really, and there are so many government schemes which are available, government is
yeah.
really empowering today's youth to come and do their own startups, right? Startup India is
Yeah.
the mission, right? The government has. So if all these things are leveraged, people can really make a marked difference. Definitely, everything boils to cost here, right? If we go to those costings, the costings will be much better, that the quality has to be maintained.
And also, I believe these smaller companies or MSME sector, which we call, they can also be a good reliant partners as well. Not that they will be only the transactional ones. We can also establish a good partnership with them as well.
Exactly. Exactly. And that can be a solid partnership which they can establish. And the only thing that they have to show is their strengths and maintain the quality. That's
Yeah.
it.
So I believe in corporates, Shubhra, there are many big corporates which provides sort of funding to the small organizations, small companies, and in case they don't have the payments or they don't have that kind of credit line, the credit line is also extended. So that way, I believe it is the mutually fulfilling ecosystem which
Yeah.
happens in that way.
Yeah, very true. Very rightly
Mm.
brought up, Sandeep, because there are a lot of such ecosystems which are available
Yeah.
where, if the corporate finds that this is the right partner, they really
Yeah.
invest. They
Mm.
really invest into that partner for collaborating and getting the things done.
And you touch upon the important point of GCCs. So India has become the capital of GCCs. Around 1700 odd GCCs are running, and the various biggest names of the corporate world are establishing their shop in India
Yeah.
because we have the capability for sure. Now it is up to the youth from the tier two, tier three to really show their mettle that yes, we have the capability to really become part of the GCCs as well, either as an employee or a supplier in whatever
Yeah.
form.
Sandeep, honestly, what I
Hmm.
feel that tier 2, tier 3, village, taluka, tehsil, now it doesn't make a difference.
True.
That should not be in our mind at all,
Yeah.
because we are all in the world of virtual and all the information is available right in
Available.
the villages now. So, the first and the important thing that I feel that is going to be a game changer for our
Hmm.
young people today, wherever they are, is the change in the mindset. And it has to be I can do it and I want to do it. If you have these two things very clear in your head, nothing can stop you.
So, Shubhra, now coming to sustainability, DII. So, anything you want to talk about? These are the important aspects, and we also, when we are in supply chain as well as we are working with the suppliers, we also talk about these concepts. So, anything on sustainability, DEI, any bigger purpose you connect with the supply chain or the partners we are working with?
So yes, sustainability is become the buzzword. It's no more one of the words written there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So, and it's very important because this comes as responsible sourcing as well, right?
yeah.
So, I as a consumer and the other person as a supplier, it is a responsible act
Hmm.
to ensure that we make everything which is environmental friendly, right? So, when we work very closely ensuring our partners
Hmm.
they are sustainable,
Hmm.
right? How are they monitoring the carbon emissions? If
Yeah.
we are buying any product, how can it be recycled, reused?
Hmm.
What are their policies that they are doing? So
Yeah.
Now, if you would have realized that all the RFPs which are
Mm-hmm.
being floated, there
Mm.
is a big section on sustainability. What is your sustainability landscape? How do you ensure sustainability? Because if we don't, then very soon, as we are seeing, like we have all felt the word of global warming, right?
Yeah.
So we have started seeing water as a very limited resource now. That will
Mm.
also get vanished. So we have to be very, very coherent about, all these resources, because resources are limited. How do we make the best use of it?
Mm. Mm.
So when we work with our suppliers, we ensure and that a supplier who might be very good, a big name, but a
Mm-hmm.
supplier who is sustainable gets an edge over it, because finally we all have to be compliant to
Mm.
the sustainable goals
Yeah. Yeah.
that the UN has, right?
Yeah.
UN
Yeah.
sustainable goals.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, very important to be very coherent about sustainability. And when we talk about DE&I, so
Yeah.
diversity, equity, and inclusive, it's very, very important for any organization. Would it
Mm.
be armed forces, or would it be corporate, or would it be home, right? Anywhere.
Yeah.
It has to be a very inclusive place, because that inclusivity defines our culture. And if the culture is very inclusive, then it makes the environment more productive. So,
Mm.
like everything is like a chain linked. So when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, earlier it was about diversity means women to be given
Mm.
jobs,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Diversity means ethnic groups,
Um,
right? But now we have all moved from, these short term
yeah.
things that come what may. You have to do. You can give a job to a ethnic group, or you can give a job to a woman, but
Mm.
am I productive? Can I do it? That's the most important thing. The man
Mm.
behind the machine is equally important to get it rolling. So, D&I plays a very important role in any organization, but at the same time, it gives a different perspective. Suppose I have got some physical limitations, not very approachable by the society. We used to have a taboo, if I can say. It was a
Yeah.
taboo. I can't see, I can't speak, I can't write. Who will give me a job? But with being more inclusive, because everyone has got some strength, it is
Correct.
all
Mm.
about identifying that strength, that key potential in that resource, and how do we optimize it and leverage it. It's all
Mm.
about that, right? Identification of the key strength,
Mm.
optimizing and leveraging that key strength. That's
Yep.
it. It doesn't matter, right? We have resources, we have tools for everything to put into place and make two and two together. But overall, it does enhances the culture. And overall, if the culture is good, then it does enhance the work atmosphere of an
True.
organization.
So, Shubhra, you have also led, I believe, Project Sitara. Anything you would like to share more about it? How it really touched the lives?
Yeah, so Project Sitara was in one of the organizations.
Mm.
It was a DNI initiative. So, like we all know in India, as per the corporate laws, percent of your
Yeah.
revenue profit
Yeah.
has to be given for
CSR.
corporate
Yeah.
social
Yeah.
responsibility,
Yeah.
right? And we all companies we do it religiously because
Yeah.
that's a compliance requirement. Now we take for example education of girl child,
Mm.
right? We will give our CSR funds to educate a girl child. You have educated the girl child. The girl has done her graduation. After that, what? The same vicious circle? She's gone back. So we
Correct.
thought of that. That
Mm.
how is it that we really make it impactful? Then we decided that yes, the kind of resources we want, the QR qualifications that we want, we will not get it, but we have to be ready to set aside some of our mandates to ensure that we really give back to the community. That is one when we decided that we will launch this project Sitara, where we will give employment to these economically weak section of the societies on whom we have invested in educating them. And once they come into this mainstream and they get a job, which is like a dream come true for them,
Absolutely.
right? When they come for job, when they get a job, that is what the circle completes. That is where you have given back to the community. This was one of those projects under the DNI initiative, which we had launched and was very successful. Though we had our own quotes of, will this fly? Will they be able to speak English? Because in multinationals, we have to be fluent in English. These people are not fluent in English. Few of them will not really understand English as well. Then there were a lot of taboos even from the families. It was not only pushback from us, but the family. Night shifts, my daughter cannot go in the night shift.
True.
Right? So all such questions, convincing the parents that please let your child come to our organization and work. We literally got the parents to the office, showed them the office. We said, you have a full free hand to talk to any of our employees. Would it be male or would it be female? Ask them their experience, and then see how does it make. So this was all Project Sitara about, changing the lives of people and getting to do job.
Wonderful, wonderful. A really good initiative, Shubhra. And I believe you also led the Veterans Network. So, through that network, how does that initiative help the veterans in securing a job or maybe getting back to the society after the service period is over, or was it something else?
Yeah, so no, it is exactly something what you're what you're talking about. So if I go back to my days when I came out of armed forces and wanted a job in the corporate, right? So those days we didn't have any of these structured networks or veteran hiring programs. Even the companies were not very open to veterans coming and joining them. If you would see, veterans were status code as, okay, फौजी है, security भी ले लो या administration में ले लो. Not realizing that Fauji has not done the kind of security corporate requires, or the administration what corporate requires. What we have done in security and administration is totally different. Right? It's absolutely the second side of the coin here. But we were stereotyped like that. So veterans, especially with the US organizations, this is a real good initiative by the US organizations where they really value the skills and the values which are drilled by the forces in these veterans and with which they come over. Because it's more important for us as employers, that we have the right talent.
True.
How to do a work, we can teach. That can be taught. But if you don't have the right attitude, that cannot be. And some of those important value systems of integrity, of risk management, which is ingrained, crisis management, decision making under stressful environments, all these things that a veteran gets, something very unique and blends very well with the corporate system. So the veteran network acts as a bridge where there has to be a learning for the organization. How do we accept a veteran? Because yes, there would be a learning curve. We need to get them included into our own ecosystem. So what do we do as an organization where veterans are felt inclusive? And for the veterans, this platform becomes as a stepping stone to enter the corporate realm, where they can get that kind of a support where, like how to set up a meeting. Army, you don't need to set up a meeting on Teams or Zoom, right? So for as simple as that, so that becomes a support system for them to step into the corporate world and then take their wings high. That is a transitioning thing which is really, really very commendable with the organizations now.
Yeah, wonderful. And I really can understand the importance of it, the veterans coming out after doing so much of the immense work for the country and then just struggling to find a job in the corporate. And definitely, it's a great work, Shubhra. Now, just coming to one point, we have had many women leaders in India, both in forces. We have seen Rani Lakshmibai, we have seen Rani Alia Holkar, we have seen so many women in the corporate world, women leaders. So, whom do you admire or anyone you follow very closely, Shubhra?
I really resonate very well with Dr. Kiran Bedi.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, before, because uniform used to fascinate me, and she
Mm,
was one
mm,
of
mm,
those dynamic women. So, right before I joined armed forces, I
mm,
used to really admire her as a woman of substance. And
mm,
definitely our old warriors like Lakshmi Bai
mm.
and all. Yes. So, but personally for me, it's Dr. Kiran Bedi.
Great, great. Yeah, yeah, we definitely, all of us really admire her, and definitely she has given a lot of inspiration, and we know what kind of contribution she has given in her career to India. Now, Shubhra, you are also the art of living coach, I believe. So, how does that help in meditation and relieving the stress? Anything you want to talk about that?
Oh, yes. Sandeep, we always talk about all sorts of hygiene, right?
Mm,
We
mm,
talk about dental hygiene, we
mm.
talk about physical hygiene, but we never talk about mental hygiene.
So true.
Because in none of the schools or colleges, we are taught anything about the mental hygiene, but which is the most important part. If today, whatever is happening across the world, it
Mm,
is all because something wrong is happening up on that upper chamber. That slight anguish of anger, right? Or anxiety where things break. And it does disaster. We are all seeing it, right?
mm,
So, of living has given me a full insight into keeping my mental hygiene. As important as it is for me to brush my teeth every day
mm,
and keep my dental hygiene, it is more important for me to keep my mental hygiene because then I am not privy to or I'm not ruled by
mm,
any of my negative emotions, anger, jealousy, hatred, stress. All these things I know how to control it.
mm,
That
mm,
really empowers me to be very calm
mm,
and not react. Most of
mm,
the times, what happens, we are hearing someone, we think we are hearing that person,
mm.
but something else is going on in our
Go
mind.
in the.
And at the end, before that person can finish, before I can actually understand what that person wanted, I have
Mm,
comprehended something about because I have my own assumptions or preconceived notions. And I react. Now, this helps me take a step back and not react and respond. So that makes a marked difference. Plus, the breathing techniques are very important because
true.
if you see, Sandeep, the breath that we take and the emotions are very closely linked, right? If we are very peaceful, we breathe very differently.
Yeah,
If we are very angry, we breathe very differently,
yeah.
right? And from anger, we are always told from childhood, lambi gehri saans lo. Isn't
True.
it? Be calm. So that definitely works magic. Now, if I have to go for a meeting, I still remember my first client presentation as a consultant. I was like full of anxiety and I took few deep breaths in and out and I was able to come out of it and give a wonderful presentation, which I
Mm,
was also wondering is was it me who gave? Because then you are totally true to yourself. You are yourself. You're not getting carried away by these emotions, the so-called emotions.
mm,
It's very, very, very important for us to ensure that we do this servicing of a mind as we send a car to service, right? Every day We don't forget to charge our mobiles, right? It's
Yeah.
it's a necessary evil. We have to charge
True.
a mobile, right? We know that we have to pay the bills if we
Yes.
are having a postpaid SIM, because otherwise the SIM will not work. Similarly, my meditation is for me, charges my day, and it gives me energy to do my things.
True. I believe 24th June is the Yoga Day, International Yoga Day, and this is
Yes.
our gift to the world. Great.
This is our gift to the world. 11 years back, this is going to be the 11th
11th year.
International Day
Okay.
of Yoga.
Wonderful. So, Shubhra, how does you just talked about the meditation, yoga, breathing, which is so much important. So, just help us to understand how does the inner clarity critical for the success which we strive for in our career, in our day-to-day work.
Yeah, that's very true. I have a counter question, Sandeep.
Absolutely.
If we don't have inner clarity, how
Hmm.
will we succeed?
I believe it will be really difficult. So we will try to go place A, place B, place C everywhere and not reach exactly rather anywhere.
Exactly. So that is the importance of inner clarity. That once we are clear about what we want, right, we are very focused. And that is when we can very strategically think and prioritize our work as to
Hmm.
how do I achieve my goal? How do
Hmm.
I achieve my mission? This is what I want. But then I walk backwards, right? So for that, I require mental clarity, inner clarity. Then I will also be able to listen to others' perspective, because then I am not only and I. Other problem that we face today is I know it all. So the biggest problem is that I.
Hmm.
So we step out of that and we look at everything in a whole picture. And definitely, because of all these techniques, right? Yoga,
Hmm.
meditation,
Hmm.
breath works,
Yeah.
right? This helps us get internal inner clarity. It helps us get more better perspective,
Hmm.
right? It helps us get more intuitive and creativity,
Hmm.
right, into what we are doing. So all these things bundle up together and
Hmm.
will definitely, when we then work our success plan, then that plan has to be successful. There can be
Wonderful.
no second way about it,
Hmm.
isn't it?
Yep, yep, fully agree, Shubhra. So now, just circling back to our audience, the targeted audience or the viewers, the tier two, tier three youth. So any kind of advice, suggestions, inputs you have for the careers, for how to assimilate the knowledge, collect the knowledge, or in fact, from the art of living perspective as well. Anything, Shubhra?
Yeah. So, a couple of things that I would like to share with the youth from my own lessons that I have learned.
Yeah.
First, invest in the fundamentals and lifelong learning.
Hmm.
Once we start, we have to build our foundation, which is very strong. So that's very, very, very important. And there we have to start from the very basic and then start building the block on top of it, because that has got no end. Sky is the
Hmm.
limit.
Hmm.
Then, second is continuous learning.
Yeah.
It is never that
So
I
true.
know it all.
Hmm.
And there is never a time that, oh, I am 60 years old.
Hmm.
How will I learn? No. Or this is done by very senior people. I just have got 30 years. I'm
Hmm.
just 30 years with 10 years of experience. How can I do it? No,
Yeah.
nothing stops. Nothing stops. It's all in
Hmm.
a mindset, right? What we think we do. This is the second thing. And the third thing is, when we are learning everything, have to practically apply it on the ground.
Hmm.
Because just learning is one way.
Correct.
When we practically implement it, then only it becomes a two-way traffic and really collates and coincides into each other. That is one bit I would say. The second thing I would say is embrace resilience and discipline. Nothing works without a discipline,
Hmm.
whatever we say. Even if we talk about a day to day routine, we have to be disciplined.
True.
So Discipline is very, very, very important. Now, whenever we are doing anything, every time it will not be success. There might be setbacks, and setbacks have to happen, right? We have to be very cognizant of that fact. People break with failures. No, failures are stepping stones for your success. These are learning opportunities. That is what we have to embrace into ourselves and not get into that anxiety mode and take those drastic steps which today's youth takes.
Yeah.
Right? I don't get the kind of percentage I wanted in my exam, and that is a break, right? And we see the disasters happen.
True.
And this is all where the breath work, meditation, yoga
Yoga.
really comes to help. Because
Fully
the
agree.
very focused, anxiety is taken under control.
Yeah.
None of these unfriendly emotions come into play with our success. And one very important thing which I personally follow is whether I win or I lose. These are two sides of a coin. Someone
True.
has to win and someone has to lose.
Yeah.
Whenever I lose, I never think that I have lost. I always think that yes, someone else has won, and these are my learning takeaways for me to step ahead. So, and I am very happy because I give my 100%. I will, because I know that I have done the best that I could have done, and there was nothing else that I could have done in that situation at that moment, because that situations also differ, right? That I could have done in that moment. That gives me a lot of serenity and peace. Yes, whatever was the result doesn't bother. And that is where I don't go bonkers. So that is very important. Whatever you are doing, be into it, give your 100%, be focused, and don't bother about your result. Take it as a learning, go ahead. That is like, a soldier always march ahead, doesn't look back. So that is there. Give a structure and reflect on it for everything that you are doing and be very adaptable. So that is
Wonderful.
going to be the third and the last thing which I have realized now is network and mentorship. That is one of the key things which really makes you successful. So have your network and have your mentorship, seek guidance from people, make community support, get involved into communities where you would want to, where you will get more knowledge about. Like, for example, today we are in a world of AI, right? There's so many communities which are talking only and only about Gen AI, agentic AI, and things of that sort. In those community, strengthen yourself, strengthen your core, and seek mentorship. True network is what helps. This is what I have realized. Now I have got everything, but I never realized the importance of network. And when I look back today, Sandeep, everything that I have accomplished till now was with help of a network. But I never realized the importance of network because it is happening automatically. So networking is very important. Go into those forums. There are so many industry led events. There are so many workshops. There are so many conferences. And now, thanks to COVID, everything is available virtually as well.
Yes.
Right? There is so much of social media. LinkedIn is an important platform, right? There are Twitter again. X has become again a good platform. Instagram, there is so many knowledges which are there. YouTube, which again has got a bundle of knowledges. So nothing.
So look for the right source of knowledge,
Exactly.
and knowledge everywhere. Okay, Instagram and YouTube has definitely a lot of other elements as well.
The knowledge that you are
Yeah,
aiming for.
yeah. So true, so true. So, Shubhra, would you like to also share some courses or some books which you will recommend to the young audience who wants to really start their kick off their careers in supply chain, or who might be in the midstream of their careers? Anything you would like to share?
Yeah. So, I mean, for people who are beginners, who
Yeah.
want to establish themselves into supply chain, so all the institutes, would it be IIMs or would it be any other institutes, they all offer programs on supply chain management and operations, strategy and operations. So that becomes the key or the base for people to understand the entire concept of
Mm.
supply chain. What is this? What are the strategies? What are the operations? What are the trends? So that becomes the base, the
Mm.
background, right? And if I have to talk about some book, there are a lot of books on supply chain management and strategy.
Mhm.
One very easily available book in India is by Sunit Chopra on strategy, supply chain management and strategy planning and
Mhm.
operations. There are a lot of books. There is one very good book of named Supply Chain for Dummies.
Okay.
That is by Daniel Stanston. There are a lot of books
Mm.
available.
Mm.
And now the best thing is if you don't understand anything, Gen AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, ask them any question.
True,
They'll tell you
true, true,
thousands of it. They will also
true.
lead you to the next questions that you should ask
Yeah.
them.
In
So,
fact, the another AI where you talked about the Gen AI, we have the Perplexity as well, which gives the sources of
yes.
a very well curated way of telling how this knowledge is coming from. You can go to the particular website, or they will also give the references where they're just citing all those things. And
Yeah.
definitely, you give a very relevant and uh, example for that, Shubhra.
Yeah, and then about certifications. So once you
Yeah,
have your basics right,
yeah.
then it comes to your specializations and certifications. So there are advanced programs
Mm-hmm.
by all these reputed tier one institutes
Yeah,
globally or in India. So IIMs have it, even IITs have it for that matter.
yeah.
Then global institutes also have it. So advanced supply chain for leaders,
Mm.
strategy and operations, courses like that. But then there are very specific organizations like ISM. They offer very specific courses like CPSM,
Mm.
CSSD. So these are all very good certifications to
Certifications.
empower yourself to learn
Mm.
and have it on with
Mm.
you. Then Apex is there, right?
Mm.
CIPP is there. So
Mm.
all these certifications, they do definitely help grow
Mm.
your ladder.
Okay, wonderful. So, Shubhra, you've talked about the stress management, you have talked about the career. So, you have talked also given the recommendation for the books the youngsters can read. So, if anything you would like to read or you have already read, any such book, documentary, anything which you really found valuable, which you look back to.
So yeah, so I am into diverse reading. So right from fiction to management to
Mm.
leadership to strategy to spiritual.
Okay.
So yeah, so lots of things that I read. One good book that I keep referring to again and again, it's Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen
Mm.
Conway. Very popular book as well,
Yes, yes,
which I
yes.
keep referring back.
Mm.
Then I also keep referring back to The Monk Who Sold Ferrari.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something a rich dad, poor dad.
Mm.
So that helped me actually unveil
Mm.
my thing about financial
Okay.
management, rich dad, poor dad.
Mm.
So yeah, a couple of things. Then there is
Mm-hmm.
a very nice book on mindset,
Mm-hmm.
Mindset New Psychology of
Okay.
Success, which is by Carol Dweck. It's
Mm.
again a very good book.
Okay. So, and if you have to write a book, what the topic would be?
If I have to write a book, it would be my story
Yeah, very,
because
very, very interesting it would be.
yeah, and that is my retirement plan. When I don't have anything to do, I'll sit and write my own story. My story back from my days in uniform. And yeah, so it would be something comedy,
Mm.
something thrilling, something adventure, a mix of everything.
Yeah, of course, your experience from the defense services, army is definitely invaluable one, and you'll have a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah.
Great. So, any advice you would like to give yourself if you go back and circle back you as a child? So, looking back now, you started with how you really got into OTA. So, any one single advice you would like to give yourself going back to early 90s when you got recruited?
Yeah, I would give myself an advice of art to pause
Mm.
because that's very important. Pause and reflect and don't be in a hurry, Things will come. Calm down, slow down. So that is one thing. And
Mm.
always live with your value system. At
Very
no
important.
point of
Yeah.
time, give it away.
Very important.
So that is my advice to myself, and I
Hmm.
keep giving it to my nephew as well.
Great, Shubhra. So, Shubhra, I'm towards the end of the session. It has been really pleasure and really appreciated that you took out time on Sunday evening. I am 100% sure the viewers, audience, where I will be definitely posting it all over, whether it's YouTube, LinkedIn, they will find the discussion immensely useful for their careers. So, thanks a lot from my side for the time this evening.
Thank you so much, Sandeep, to have me here. And I'm really grateful to give me this opportunity. I really enjoyed these minutes talking to you. And I, again, it's an immense work that you're doing, thinking about the future generation. Because yes, someone has to be there in this era where there is so much of information overload, actually,
Yeah,
right?
true.
And the youth today is getting swarmed up with so much information. They don't
Yeah,
know how to consume it rightly. So, giving them direction. So, your
yeah.
podcast is really going to give them direction how to consume the best bits of the information available in today's
Yes.
world
Yeah.
and really make them successful. So, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure talking to you today evening and a very nice Sunday evening spent with you. Thank you and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Shubham. Have a good day. Thanks.
Thank you.